Are you someone who loves receiving flowers? I didn't think I really liked receiving flowers until one day my hubby showed up with a whole bunch of roses and I was like, you know what? The act of receiving a bunch of flowers is pretty thoughtful and amazing. Let's talk a little bit more about tulips. I'm going to be talking about a game today called Windmill Valley, where players are going to be tulip entrepreneurs as you grow tulips, harvest tulips, and sell them at the market. Interested already in the front cover? Because this game will have you spinning. Hi, my name's Danny. I'm an avid modern board gamer from Australia who loves sharing my passion for board gaming with you, my friends, and my family. Come and join me on this journey. And don't forget to subscribe for more amazing board game content.
I woke to a whisper in the wind. Every action I take reminds me of you. What is a world without two differently sized interconnected cogwheels and you? I dream that we will meet again someday in the fields of the windmills where the turns go round and round. You are my heart, you are my all. You are this completed tulip field for 10 endgame victory points. And I did it just for you. Maybe one day.
Each player is going to have a set of windmills represented by these two cogs, one with 5 segments and one with 6 segments. On your turn, you'll move the wheels in a clockwise direction according to the speed and adjusting the water level as you go. Wherever your wheel stops, these 2 arrows are going to point to 2 actions. You'll get to resolve one of either of the 2 actions. As you can see on this wheel, there are 6 different actions and they are represented by different regions on the main game area. So the first thing you can do is plant 2 tulips into your garden. Simple as that. Put them from your reserve, lay them out in your garden. You've even got this ship trading action where you can place a tulip onto the ship trading card to get particular bonuses depending on what's connected there. And the rule there is you can only place a tulip of a color that isn't represented on that card already. And the other thing you can do with that ship action is you can take all the tulip bulbs there and put it in your storage, because maybe there are colored tulips that you need there that you need to use to fill out your garden. Improvement action, which basically allows you to draft from a set of bronze, silver, and kind of lighter tan improvement wheels, which are segments that kind of go to improving this cog mechanism. Here you've kind of got like a base level action, but you can kind of improve it where some tiles allow you to combine 2 actions together, some give you a better power or make it stronger or allow you to initiate an action multiple times. So this little improvement section is how I guess you improve the tech of your wheel. And you can also take 2 actions at this central market area where you're basically moving your marker around, pulling the neutral marker towards an area you're going to, and you're gathering particular species of tulips and planting particular species of tulips. And then you can also get character cards, which gives you endgame scoring, or ongoing abilities, which you tuck at the top of your board. And essentially, and then finally, you've got the windmill action, which allows you to deploy windmills that are stored on your garden board out onto this beautiful field map, which is a big portion of this game, where you can kind of build networks from the central market area out to the exterior, and every time you place a windmill you pay a cost to place your windmill there, and then you can activate all the actions that are based on the arrows pointing to the fields that's connected to that windmill. And if you connect your windmill to other players' windmills, they get a victory point if you use their route. There's a lot of interesting nuanced interaction that's invited there. The game will kind of progress until you've done about 4 rotations and the game will end, and a lot of your victory points are going to be scored from your main garden board. You'll get a multiplier effect based on whether you've placed out all of your windmills from a particular section. So down here, if you place all your windmills out from this section, all of the dark tulips will be multiplied by 3 points, whereas the white one is only going to be multiplied by 1, and whatever's in your garden, that's the points you're going to get. You're also going to try and make rows of the same species of tulips and columns of different species of tulips, otherwise you'll encounter a penalty. If you do manage to finish your row, you'll get points as well. As you place tulips into your garden, you'll cover different bonuses, and this is something that's quite common in these sorts of games, where when you cover things up, whatever's depicted there, you get that as an additional bonus. And you'll find that in this game that everything is a tapestry of bonus actions. Cover this to build this, to take a little segment, to then use that to improve my action, and then also plant these other tulips, and then also go to the market. And then with your abilities of your characters, they can further fuel and trigger some of your engine, which is a beautiful part of the game. The one thing I really love about Windmill Valley is its customizability. On first glance, it seems like it's a very simple game, and yes, the visuals in this game and the iconography is absolutely delightful just to peruse and look at, but you're always customizing your wheels. And what's really, really cool is that this windmill, every time you go round one circuit, whatever was previously matched here is not going to be matched on the second rotation. And that's because there are 5 spokes and 6 spokes here, which is an ingenious yet subtle way of making sure that what you upgrade isn't going to repetitively occur and isn't going to encourage people to exploit that particular combo. It almost alternates within every revolution. As the windmills rotate, you can go faster or slower, and the faster you go, the quicker you get to the end of the game. And as you trigger the next round or the next movement, your marker goes across this round board, giving you bonuses. And if you're the first to trigger that rotation, you'll get a really good bonus, or a choice of a really good bonus. One of the things that really I couldn't really visualize when I first read about the game and opened the game up was this market interaction. The idea that you move around these market stalls, hopping over and then pulling markers towards you, or placing your mark on top of another player's marker to use the benefit of that area. The whole rondelle mechanism in the market actually was surprisingly crunchy. I had to think strategically about how I was going to make it more expensive for my opponent, my hubby, to be able to get the things that he needed. And he was also tactfully trying to move all the generic pieces and his own pieces to try and make it really hard for me to be able to do the things I want, because there's a cost for moving a generic marker into the market, and also another cost for using a space that another player is occupying. And so it created this really cool, interesting cyclic tension that I hadn't really seen in other games. And so this became a really focal point for getting the specific species of tulips. And I thought this is an interesting aspect that maybe people might not have noticed, is that you've only got 4 rows. And so you can only put 1 species in each row, or you're trying to, otherwise you get a penalty. But there are 5 different species of tulips. And at the market, you've got 5 different species of tulips. 2 of the spaces allow you to get 2 of the species, and 1 of the spaces allows you to get the dark one, which is probably the most expensive one on the board as well, and gives you the most victory points. But then when we analyzed and talked about this, me and my hubby, we were like, oh, the actual spades, which allows you to plant particular species of tulips from your storage into the garden, is kind of like 2 spaces away from where you pick them up. And so there's this really cool kind of like geographical leapfrogging mechanism that you have to really navigate in your head. And this is a really great thing that shines through Windmill Valley, is that a lot of these actions provide interesting little mini games that really tickle the brain. For example, getting the contracts, picking the right abilities that synergize together, picking the right endgame scoring, where my hubby was able to fill out 3 of these rows, and he had like 2 out of, you know, the 5 different row scoring mechanisms, which gave him like 20 points. Or it might be picking the right upgrades to use. Do you go for common upgrades and there's like character cards that synergize with common upgrades? Or do you go for the really expensive upgrades, which are super powerful? But then also thinking about where you're going to place them in your cog. I mean, by placing in the current one, you're not going to get it. Are you going to place in the one that's coming up? And then by placing in the one that's coming up, you then have to decide, well, if I have to pick one of them, do I want to pick this one and not that one? And so there's a lot of split decision making that happens in your brain. I honestly didn't expect it to be as layered as I thought that this game was going to be. Now, whilst I've immensely enjoyed my experience with Windmill Valley, there are a couple of criticisms I do want to talk about. First of all, there seems to be one starting ability in the game that seems to be overpowered. It's to do with the market, where you can kind of pick different actions to take at each market spot. And I think that tended to give that player or my hubby a few more options than I would have desired. I feel like I need repeated plays to really see if that is overpowered in the long term. But in the game that I played, it did feel quite overpowered in the overall outcome of the game. The other thing I want to mention is that all the tulips that come in the game, it is like the feature part of this game are just little cardboard pieces. I think it would have been nice to have like little wooden pieces that kind of stood up so that when you looked at your garden board, you'd be able to see like flowers popping up. And I know they've actually got an upgrade pack coming to the board and dice store, and I think they've got their own ones that they're going to be using, but I wish that was part of the base game. The third criticism that I want to make is that one of the actions that I felt was quite underpowered was the ship action. And I think I see the purpose of the ship action as in providing players with additional options to get tulips they need, but also different actions. I feel like the interest there probably wasn't as good as some of the other different regions and actions in the game. So I tended to skip the ship action. I think I might have used it twice throughout the whole game, but it just didn't seem something that seemed quite powerful, but something I'm willing to explore in the future. And the last thing is that the water level mechanic, at the beginning of your turn, you've got to decide whether you're gonna leave the water level where it is and spin your cogs certain number of spaces, and then are you gonna lower the water level and then take rewards. Whilst it provided an additional way to get income and victory points, and also allowed players to determine the speed of the game, I feel like that mechanism didn't feel as compelling as well as the other regions of the game. I feel like it might have just been easier for a rule to be like, move your wheel 1 to 3 spaces. With the designer Danny Garcia, he's made games like Windmill Valley, of course, Arborea, and one of my favorite games of last year, Barcelona. I haven't really had a chance to play Arborea as much yet, but in comparing Windmill Valley and Barcelona, I think I love the theme of Barcelona a little bit more, but I think I like the gameplay of Windmill Valley. The mechanisms of each of the different actions on the spokes of the wheel just are really cool and creative. Barcelona just has a really immersive theme, and I love city building games. So you know what, to be honest, I'm torn between the two, which I like better. I think I would prefer Barcelona than Windmill Valley, but if you were to ask my hubby, he'd probably say Windmill Valley and then Barcelona. So take it with a grain of salt. Now, if you found this video super helpful, please consider liking and subscribing to my channel and checking out some of my other board game related content on my main page. If you really want to help me and this channel grow, please head over to my Patreon page and access some exclusive Patreon only videos. Otherwise, this is Danny signing out. I hope to see you again in another Board Game Sanctuary video in the near future. See you soon.